year was 2005. You would have been listening to Gwen Stefani sing about Holler Back Girl. Bird flu was the latest pandemic sweeping the globe. Bob Geldof did his once-in-a-decade thing of coming out of his rock and doing a rock concert for charity. Prince Charles, he married a horse. And relatively unknown Alastair Clarkson became the Hawthorn head coach. It did not begin well for Clarkson, coming off a 63-point belting by the Sydney Swans at the SCG, with Davis, Hall and Jolly running amok and running riot against a young Hawk side. Little did we know at the time they would go on to be one of the most dominant sides of the next decade, winning 4 flags. Let's take a look at his team for his first ever game. Ben Dixon was around, and he was towards the end of his career when Clarkson arrived. The crafty forward would go on to play 2 more years for the Hawks, playing 203 games and kicking 282 goals. After retirement, he ran a draft star programme for the youngsters to hone their football craft and learn leadership skills in the summer holidays. Later on, he would join St Kilda as a goal-kicking coach before settling into his new role as a commentator on Fox Footy. Mark Williams. The flamboyant forward had a breakout year in 2005, booting 63 goals. Known for his shotgun celebrations, he backed up 2005 with another 60-goal year, and the sky really was the limit for Williams. Injuries, though, started to surface for Mark, and in 2008 he booted 3 goals, which was probably his biggest achievement to date, when they finally won the grand final and got that illustrious premiership against the Cats. He was perhaps more known, though, for choking gestures towards Port Adelaide coaches. He then ironically joined serial chokers Essendon before turning out for Ballon and later going on to coach local footy. Danny Jacobs. The rangy defender joined Hawthorn from Essendon prior to Clarkson's run at the club. The former Rising Star nominee was one who would have seen his experience of playing a grand final a huge asset to a young side at Hawthorn Football Club. Unfortunately for him and the club, injuries curtailed any momentum, and after 45 games in just 4 years, he returned to local footy and saw out his days in the Southern Football League. Rick Ladson. Rick was 2 years into his Hawthorn career when Clarko arrived. This steady performer could play the small roles down back and outside of midfield with ease. Was a staple when not injured for Alastair Clarkson and kicked the sealer in the 2008 Granny. Injuries, though, saw him bring the curtain down of his career in 2011 before moving into the back room at Essendon and later leading Gold Square to their 5th premiership in the Bendigo League. Nick Holland. The 1995 rising star who could play both ends of the ground was at the end of his stellar career when Clarkson arrived. 2005 restricted him to 10 games due to injury, and he retired with 239 goals from 179 games. He incidentally, after retirement, passed the bar in 2007 and is currently keeping the next crop of footballers keen and honest in his role on the VFL tribunal. Spider Everett, the mobile ruckman with the wacky hair who had a penchant for a big mark and sneaking forward and snagging a goal, had been at Hawks for 2 years when Clarkson arrived after securing a trade from the St Kilda Football Club. 2005 saw his final All-Australia nomination, and he was consistent until contract negotiations hit a roadblock at the end of 2006, and he was traded to Sydney after playing 72 games for the Hawks. He played a further 2 years for the Swans, but never reached them heights he did at the Saints or Hawthorn before retiring and going into radio. Shane Crawford, former captain who saw a return to form in 2005 under Alastair Clarkson, where he was among the leading ball winners in the comp. He would be a consistent performer for the next few years for the football club before bowing out with a deserved premiership medal in 2008. A club great in every sense of the word. In retirement, started dominating the world record books, breaking 90 eggs in a minute with his head, among other records. Since then, he's put his head to better use and become a successful author and worked in a variety of sports media roles and continuing to fundraise for many charities close to his heart. Harry Miller, cousin of Peter and Silk, the small forward with skills, played 14 games and accumulated 11 goals in 2005. He probably lacked the forward pressure we've become accustomed to under a Clarkson-type player and was delisted at the end of 2006. He did return home to South Australia, however, where he played for the Port Magpies before working in community football, inspiring the next crop of young Indigenous footballers as a junior coach. Josh Throughgood. This cult figure was christened Sideshow Bob by his teammates because of his big, bright red dreadlocks. And he became a cult figure at Hawthorn. Many considered his lack of size and strength to be an issue to play in the modern day game, and it kind of proved right. He just never got the continuity and suffered cheekbone and shoulder issues, and was eventually delisted in 2007 after playing 13 games with only 1 goal in return. He later went on to play along with Miller at a Port Magpies side in South Australia and hasn't been seen of since. Luke Brennan. The versatile footballer lined up for the Hawks in round 1, but he did not really find the form required to live up to the 8th pick 3 years previous. Could play both ends of the ground and was a natural high flyer. His biggest claim to fame was finishing second in the Footy show at the end of 2005 in a singing comp nonetheless. His career never really got off the ground and it never really sang either. He was eventually shipped off to Sydney in 2007 and after playing 19 games and grabbing just 11 goals, went on to play in the VAFA. Jonathan Hay. The versatile backman had a fantastic start to his career at Hawthorn and really showed signs of becoming a quality footballer. His highlight being 2001 when he was All-Australian selected, but injury interrupted 2004 and he would have hoped for a fresh start under Clarkson. Was a mainstay in Clarkson's debut year before trading incidentally to Clarkson's old club, the Roos, after playing just 149 games for the club. He was restricted to just 8 games for the Roos before a public issue with drugs and bravely battling depression. He did briefly come out of retirement in the Heathcote League, but it wasn't a success as injury found him again. Buddy Franklin. With the arrival of Clarkson, we saw another player cement their legacy in the hearts and mind of Hawthorn Football Club and had an impressive 27 goals in 20 games in 2005. And from then on, he went from strength to strength, as Hawthorn did with Clarkson, winning the Goal Kickers medal 2 times, making All-Australian 4 in his time at Hawthorn and winning 2 flags. He went on to Sydney quite publicly for big money and continues to be a problem for defenders all around the country now. He ended up playing 182 times for Clarkson and kicking a staggering 580 goals. Richie Vandenberg. This no-nonsense player was Clarko's first captain. He was tough to the ball and was part of the infamous line in the sand versus Essendon the year prior to Clarkson joining. He led the club for 2 years, bowing out on the best finish since 2001. He retired playing 145 times for Hawthorn Football Club and booting 64 goals. After retirement, he completed a degree in business management and went on to become a CEO of a successful wine producing company, and also joined the board of his beloved Hawthorn Football Club. Michael Osborne, a player who could play all around the ground and was a gifted defensive player. He was the prototype of what we expect from the pressure type of player that you see nowadays under Clarkson. He was an absolute staple under a Clarkson tenure until injuries cruelly set him back. He was one of the few people to win a premiership at both a VFL club and an AFL club when he did so for Box Hill and Hawthorn before he retired in 2013 with 168 games played and 110 goals scored. He had a brief stint at Carlton as a development coach before creating the AFL College, which offers players a pathway into footy with a primary focus on education. Nathan Lonie, the twin brother of Ringwood's Ryan Lonie. He had a booming peg on him. He played that quarterback role, off halfback, a little bit like Sam Mitchell did. Mixed good hand skills with good foot skills and a tremendous footy IQ. He was in and out of Clarkson's side before being traded to Port at the end of that year. After playing 64 times for the football club, he gained 35 goals in return and he stuck around for 3 years at Port before retiring and going into the construction industry. Robert Campbell. The tenacious ruckman was an absolute mainstay of Clarkson's side after Everett left, but in 2005 he kind of played a second fiddle role. He was the modern day ruckman in every sense of the word, who combined wonderful hit out ability with the ability to work it around the ground and on the ground itself. He was like an immovable wall at times, and after becoming a Premiership ruckman in 2008, injuries brought the curtain down on his wonderful career in 2009. One of the most underrated footballers of our time. A brief comeback in 2011 again was cut short by injuries before he retired from footy permanently in 2011. Ended up with an output of 116 games for Hawthorn Football Club and without a doubt, great servant of the Brad Sewell. Another mainstay of Clarkson's tenure, known for his tough tackling and his ability to work the ball in tight situations. Won 2 flags for the Hawthorn Football Club in 2008 and 2013. Won a Crimmins medal in 07. He bowed out due to repeat hammy injuries in 2014, but would end up playing 200 games for the Hawthorn Football Club. Joel Smith, the veteran and vice-captain of Clarkson, in his first year was a mainstay for the side. His ability to penetrate by foot and set up attack from next to nothing down back was one of the iconic sights that would go on to be a sign of how Clarkson's team plays. The rise of a plethora of youngsters in his position saw the veteran bow out at the end of 07 after playing 163 games for Hawthorn. Luke Hodge, the future captain fantastic, was making headway by the time Clarkson joined, and 2005 was the breakout year. He gave him probably a more prominent role under Clarkson and really catapulted himself into the limelight with a nomination for the 2005 All-Australian side. Mr. September, as he's known, is perhaps where he really came alive in final series, leading the Hawthorn Football Club to a three-peat from 2013. A glittering career at Hawthorn was rounded out at the end of 2017 when he bowed out of the game, only to turn his back on retirement after 305 games for Hawthorn and surprising the AFL world with a trade to Brisbane Lions, where he used his age, his experience and his savvy to launch Brisbane Lions into the 8 after many years on the outer. Now he is combining a coaching role with his time on the telly, a real legend of the game and an icon of the footy world. Campbell Brown, the no-nonsense backman, was a seasoned veteran by the time that Alastair Clarkson arrived, and a consistent season was cemented by another nomination to 2007's All-Australian squad. He provided Hawthorn with a security at centre half-back for the coming years. When he won the flag in 2008, he continued to be a mainstay and a rock down the back, until he joined in 2011 the new franchise Gold Coast after playing 159 times for the Hawthorn Football Club. He played a more forward role for Gold Coast and helped develop a young side. However, disciplinary issues that plagued him throughout his career caught up with him, and after a fight with Stephen May, he ended up going into retirement. Since retiring though, he has become captain of the national Indian sport Kabaddi Australian representative team and represented Australia in the World Cup, and also you'll see him in and around the media. Chance Bateman, Changa as he was affectionately known, was another guy you would have seen in the mid-noughties Hawthorn football team. His trademark dreadlocks were iconic and a sight to behold. He was tough to the ball, he was silky with ball by foot. He played 177 times for Hawthorn, kicking 67 goals. He capped off a wonderful career with the flag in 08, and the speedster saw out his days, becoming the Hawthorn's first Indigenous player to play 100 games. After retirement, he went to West Coast, where he works in a role in development, and he's a real servant and student of the game. Trent Croad. He was a Kiwi, so we can't really hold much against him, but Trent was on his second spell at Hawthorn when Clarkson joined the club. He had a standout 2005 where he was selected down back for the All-Australian side. Noted for his ability to pass on skills and education during training, he really was probably a prominent role in how the youngsters built into Clarkson's side. Cruelly broke his ankle in the grand final in 08, and perhaps more famously laid a bump on Joel Selwood, which probably got a rise out of everyone but Geelong fans as he was being helped off the ground. It was a testament to how tough this bloke was. Ended his career due to that very same injury after playing 184 games for Hawthorn. After leaving the football world, he went into landscaping business where he now owns and operates his own business. Thank you very much everyone for watching the video. Please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, it really helps me out. And also follow us on the socials up there, they're brand new, so share and share and share. Let's try and get to 100 followers as quickly as possible. As always, thank you very much guys. Stay safe. See you soon.